Have you ever wondered if you might have worms? An unsettling question indeed. But the reality of our world is that these tiny, often invisible parasites are part of our ecosystem. And yes, they can find their way into humans. From the tapeworm to the hookworm, our bodies can unwittingly become hosts to a variety of these little invaders. In the next few minutes, we will explore the shocking world of worms that can inhabit us without our knowledge. Worms, parasites that can silently invade our bodies, come in various types. They're not just the stuff of horror movies, but real-life invaders in our world. Let's get to know a few of them, shall we? First up is the roundworm. This unwelcome guest can grow up to a foot long, making our intestines its home. They often enter our bodies through contaminated food or water, laying hundreds of thousands of eggs each day. These eggs can survive in the soil for years, waiting patiently for their next host. Next, we have tapeworms. These flat, ribbon-like creatures are masters of survival. Once they find their way into our bodies, usually through undercooked meat, they latch onto our intestines with their hook-like mouthparts. Here, they absorb nutrients directly from our food, growing longer and longer with each passing day. Then there are pinworms, the most common worm infection in the United States. These tiny worms, barely visible to the naked eye, take up residence in our large intestines. They lay their eggs around our anus while we sleep, causing an intense itch and leading to their spread to others through contaminated hands or objects. Lastly, let's not forget about hookworms. These small, thin worms penetrate our skin, usually through our feet when we walk barefoot on contaminated soil. From there, they travel through our bloodstream to our lungs, up our windpipe, and finally into our intestines where they feed on our blood. These are just a few examples of the types of worms that can take up residence in our bodies. Each has its own unique strategy for survival, but all are unwelcome guests. They can cause a range of symptoms, from mild discomfort to serious illness. And while they may seem like something out of a science fiction movie, they are all too real. These worms can enter our bodies in ways you may not even imagine. Now that we know the types of worms, let's delve into how they can enter our bodies. While it's a rather unsettling thought, it's crucial to understand the common ways worms can infect us. This knowledge isn't meant to induce paranoia, but rather to empower us with the tools to prevent infection. One of the most common ways worms make their way into our bodies is through contaminated food or water. Picture this. You're on a vacation, enjoying a juicy apple from a local market, not knowing it could be the vehicle for these invisible invaders. Worm eggs or larvae often reside in fruits, vegetables, or water that hasn't been properly cleaned or cooked, waiting for an unsuspecting host. Next, let's talk about something we all prefer to avoid: contact with infected feces. Many worms, especially those causing intestinal infections, lay their eggs in the feces of infected individuals. When these eggs find their way into the environment, they can contaminate soil, water, or food. This is why proper sanitation and hygiene are crucial in preventing worm infections. Lastly, some worms don't wait for us to ingest them, they come to us. Certain types of worms can penetrate the skin when we walk barefoot or sit on contaminated soil. For example, hookworm larvae present in the soil can burrow into the skin, enter the bloodstream, and eventually find their way to our intestines. Whether it's through the food we eat, the water we drink, or the ground we walk on, worms have found numerous ways to invade our bodies. It's a stealthy, silent invasion that often goes unnoticed until symptoms arise. But remember, knowledge is power. Understanding these entry points allows us to take proactive measures to protect ourselves and our loved ones. It's not about living in fear, but about living with awareness. Knowing the modes of worm infection empowers us to prevent them. Often these worms live within us without producing noticeable symptoms. This statement might be unsettling, but it's an important reality to consider. The symptoms of worm infections can be subtle, often mimicking other common ailments, which can make them hard to identify. Let's delve into the common symptoms of worm infections. Abdominal pain is one of the most frequently reported symptoms. This discomfort can range from a dull ache to sharp, severe pain, and can sometimes be mistaken for other digestive issues. Weight loss is another symptom that might be overlooked. When worms inhabit our digestive system, they can affect our absorption of nutrients, leading to unintentional weight loss. If you're losing weight without trying, it's crucial to consult a healthcare professional. Fatigue, too, is a common symptom of worm infections. You might feel constantly tired, despite getting plenty of sleep. This fatigue can be due to the body's immune system working overtime to fight off the infection, or due to malnutrition caused by the worms consuming the nutrients that our bodies need. Depending on the type of worm, there may be other more specific symptoms. For example, pinworms often cause intense itching around the anus, particularly at night. Tapeworms, on the other hand, might lead to visible segments of the worm in your stool. Regardless of the type of worm, any persistent symptoms should not be ignored. It's crucial to remember that these signs are your body's way of telling you that something is not right. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms consistently, it's time to seek medical attention. You might be wondering, but what if I have these symptoms and it's not worms? And that's a valid question. These symptoms can indeed be caused by various conditions. However, it's always better to consult a healthcare professional to rule out the possibility of a worm infection or any other serious health issue. Remember, persistent symptoms require immediate medical attention. It's crucial to take your health seriously and seek help when needed. The earlier a worm infection is detected, the easier it is to treat. So, listen to your body, and don't dismiss any persistent symptoms. Preventing worm infection is better than dealing with its aftermath. It's a simple truth that applies to many health-related issues, but perhaps none more so than when dealing with parasites. Let's delve into the various ways to prevent worm infection. One of the primary ways is by maintaining good hygiene. It sounds simple, but washing your hands regularly, particularly before meals and after using the restroom, can significantly reduce the risk of infection. Ensuring that your living environment is clean, especially areas where food is prepared, is equally important. Next, let's talk about food. Raw or undercooked meat can be a breeding ground for parasites. To avoid infection, ensure that all meat is cooked thoroughly before consumption. This applies to both red and white meat, including pork, beef, chicken, and fish. Also, wash fruits and vegetables thoroughly to remove any potential microscopic eggs or larvae that may be lurking on the surface. Another significant source of worm infections is contaminated soil or water. Parasitic worms, particularly those that cause hookworm and schistosomiasis, can penetrate the skin, making walking barefoot or swimming in contaminated water risky. To protect yourself, always wear shoes when walking outside, especially in areas where sanitation might be poor. If you're unsure of the water quality, avoid swimming or wading. Now let's not forget about our furry friends. Pets can also be carriers of parasites, so regular vet checkups and deworming treatments are essential. Finally, remember that travel can increase your risk of worm infection, particularly if you're visiting areas where such infections are common. Always practice good hygiene, avoid uncooked food, and be aware of the local water and soil conditions. In conclusion, prevention is key when it comes to worm infections. Adopting these simple measures can go a long way in protecting you and your loved ones. Remember, the choices you make today can have a profound impact on your health tomorrow. A healthy lifestyle is your best defense against worm infection. So keep these prevention tips in mind and stay safe. Let's recap what we've learned today. We've taken a deep dive into the world of invisible invaders, worms. These tiny creatures come in many types, each with its unique mode of infection and symptoms. They're not just found in the dirt, but can also be hiding in the very food we eat and the water we drink. We've uncovered that these worms can enter our bodies through various entry points, from undercooked meat to contaminated water, and even through our skin. It's essential to remember that these invaders are not always visible to the naked eye, but their presence can manifest in myriad ways, from fatigue and stomachache to severe complications if left untreated. But it's not all doom and gloom. We've also learned that prevention and protection are within our reach. Simple habits can make a world of difference. Washing our hands regularly, cooking our food thoroughly, avoiding contact with contaminated soil or water, and keeping our surroundings clean can help us stay worm-free. So, the next time you feel an unexplained itch or a pang of discomfort, remember what we've discussed today. It could be nothing, but it could also be a silent symptom of an invisible invader. So don't hesitate to seek medical advice. Stay healthy, stay worm-free. Until next time, remember, knowledge is your best weapon against these invisible invaders.